So welcome everybody to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gomer and am a podcast engineer here. I'm excited to bring you another episode of one of our newest show of Who Cares, with Todd Lingle of the Cares Foundation. Uh, that we do here every Wednesday after 10:30 Central and Central. And the uh, Cares Foundation is a nonprofit that Todd founded in memory of his mother and sister, who we lost to a drunk driver. Um, and so, encourage everybody to support this nonprofit. But um, with nothing further to do, I'm going to bring in Todd here to kick us off here. So, welcome, Todd.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome, everybody, to Who Cares? We are Cares Foundation with a K, so it's Kares. And today's episode, we're going to discuss forgiveness a little bit. So, Kurt, Emily, get your forgiveness hats on because we're going to chat about forgiveness. There you go. Just tell you a little bit about Cares Foundation. My mom and my sister were killed by a drunk driver when I was 3 years old. And so growing up was kind of if you say, a wild time or a time that I had feelings and I didn't know what they were. And fast forward to mid 30s, I almost committed suicide. Fast forward to May of 22, I started up Cares Foundation. So my mom's name was Karen. That's where the Kare comes from. And then Shelly was my sister. That's the S, and that's where Cares comes from. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about forgiveness. So Kurt, tell me your what do you say? Your definition of forgiveness.
Definition of forgiveness. I guess it's recognizing something that someone had done that had an adverse effect on you, and in acknowledgement of that happened, you're looking at another person or group and saying, "I forgive you," which means giving them assurance that whatever needed to happen with that is done. And to me, it's freeing up the other person, to go on and just gonna say it happened and we don't need to look back. Let's move forward. And then the subsequent benefit back to you is that when you forgive people, you also are doing a good thing for yourself, giving that forgiveness, because then that way you're not further victimized, maybe, from what had happened. And then you're just opening up possibilities. It's about building a future where you're maximizing what can happen between us and other people. And so the other side of it is, if you don't forgive, everybody involved is held back. So basically, forgiveness is releasing and just opening up, and just putting behind you that thing that otherwise could be holding you back, and everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last couple events I've been at, because I go out and set up my table, and I have drunk goggles, and I have some belly chains and leg irons. I used to be a correctional officer years ago, and a lot of people have been asking me about the offender, the person that was the drunk driver that killed my mom and sister. And the question I keep getting asked, is, well, have you forgiven him, or how much time did he get? And I'm like, guess how much time he got. And they're like, oh, 20 years. I'm like, no, not even close. I said, guess again. Well, 10 years. No. 5 years. No, keep guessing. He got 2 weeks in jail, and he could serve it on evenings or weekends. He didn't do it the first 6 months. They gave him another 6 months. And then, so after I tell him that, like, wow, man, how could that guy live with himself and all this other stuff? And man, you must be mad at him. I get a lot of these things. I'm like, you know what? I said, when I was young, definitely, I wanted to know the guy's name because I wanted to go visit him. I wanted to go beat him up. And, straight up, that's what I wanted to do. And nobody would tell us his name. My brother and he wouldn't tell us his name. And so it's like, as I went on and going toward that mid 30s where I almost committed suicide, I went through that counseling. And I had said before that probably that I'd forgiven the guy, but I think that was more words than anything else. And when I went through my counseling and went through the grieving my mom and sister's death and that through those 7 stages of grief, I truly forgave him at that point. And like you're saying, Kurt, it was more for me, totally, because he passed away, and I'd known at that point he had passed away. He passed away when I was a junior in high school from alcohol poisoning, what my uncle told me. And so I knew he was gone already. So that was for me, like you're saying, a release. It released me from that burden that I was carrying. And that's what I would hope people watching, if they have something or somebody they need to forgive, that they do that not only for themselves, but for the other person as well. And when I fully forgave him, it was like you took a whole bunch of bricks off my chest. And so now as I've gone further and people ask me about that, I'm like, yeah, I have forgiven him. And actually, I kind of feel bad for him. They're like, what do you mean you feel bad for him? I'm like, well, because I don't know what his life was. Maybe his parents were alcoholics. He came from a bad background. I don't know what that background is. I'm trying to find that out more right now. I did find out that him and my mom probably went to the same high school, and that he was, I think, a senior when my mom was a freshman, and that he lived 30 minutes from where I grew up. So he wasn't very far from us, And so there's a lot of people that are like, man, I could never forgive anyone like that. And so I turn it back to my beliefs, because I grew up in a non-denominational Christian church, and I read some scriptures on it. And one this morning that I pulled up was Matthew 6. Let's see, I've got it right here. Matthew 6, 14. It says, for if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. So, it just tells me that, not only because of my beliefs, but for us as human beings to be able to release that and move forward and learn from what we've gone through. Emily, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's true. Then otherwise, everybody always like feeling guilty, or I don't know, about holding a grudge. And if you're not able to I can't talk, aren't able to sort of move past it or forgive, then and that could affect other things in your life, and things like that too. So
Yeah.
it's there just to kind of let it go, so it doesn't have a hold on you, and have it like affect other things, or you like keep going around with guilt and whatever the rest of whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly. I think it goes right into everything in our lives. If we don't forgive and have that off of our chest, I just really think it's like almost like that little dark cloud hovering over you. And, when I was going through, especially when I was going through my counseling, I was going through all the different types of emotions. I was an angry person. I was quick to anger. And it was like, it really wasn't me. And unfortunately my son saw that I went through it, and he saw that, and it's like, and I talk to him now. It's like, that wasn't me. That was me going through all the emotions that I had to deal with, because back in 75, when my mom and sister were killed, it was the old adage, buck up, buttercup. And so, we just closed up everything and we moved forward, and we didn't talk about my mom and sister. We just moved forward. And that's where I had that feeling that I didn't know what it was the whole time. And when I went through the counseling and I figured out that I had general anxiety and separation anxiety, that just took it to a different level. And so it was almost, I wouldn't say, probably for me to move on even totally a little bit into my life, it was a crucial thing to forgive him. Um, and like I said, more for me because, he's passed away. But yeah, I would, if their family ever, if I ever got to talk to his family, I would love to, know more about him. But so if people watching, I would say, if you don't know how to forgive, because it's more than just the first part is saying it, but it's actually feeling it in your heart and letting go of that. So reach out to one of us if you need someone to talk to, anything like that. I'm here for anyone. Um, one area that I've been trying to develop a little bit is whenever I go speak to kids, I tell these kids that, hey, I'm your friend now. Here's my cell phone number. I give my personal cell phone number to everybody that I talk to. And when they get in trouble or they don't want to call their parents, they can call me and I will be the mediator between them and their parents, if so. But I haven't had kids call me, but I've had individuals that are fighting alcoholism. And I've had two gentlemen call me. One was like midnight and one 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, first question is, how did you get to know my number? And they found the website. And so they had fell off the wagon that night and they drank some and they were afraid to call their sponsor. And so I'm like, that's what the sponsor is there for. And they're like, well, but but I talked with them and I got them to give me their number and we got on a 3-way and I got them connected. And so a friend of mine is like, well, have you thought about that? That's your audience as well. If they're calling and talking to you, that could be your audience. So a friend of mine does AA through a church, and he runs the program. And so I've gone the last few Mondays, and the first one Monday I sat there, I was in a group of gentlemen, and I'm not going to go any specifics because it's all set there, but said what says there stays there. But I did ask the group if I could sit there. I didn't have an issue with alcohol, but I'm trying to learn more to be able to help more. And they said, absolutely. The leader goes, I'll just speak for everybody because I know what everybody would say here is absolutely. And I've been learning more and more as I sit there about forgiveness and even true forgiveness, of going even more and talking to the individuals that have hurt you. So it's even taken my forgiveness that I gave this gentleman years ago to a whole added level that I didn't realize could go. It was there. And so they've taught me a lot so far about just what they're going through with their alcoholism and their AA process and the 12-step program. And I think all of us can learn from that 12-step program. And whether you have an alcohol issue or not, I think that us acknowledging it and going to the person and asking for forgiveness just adds that that humanization step, I guess, if you will, that we're actually caring about each other instead of just walking by each other or just, oh yeah, no big deal if you're not my friend anymore. That we really take, what do you take? Take heed in what friendship, what loving another person is, and really truly when you have that problem, because if you're friends, you're going to get into a discussion or upset at each other at some point. It's human, and it's how you react to that is what really is truth, and what really means to be a true friendship. Because if you have a problem with someone, go talk to them, squash that bug. Don't let that sit on your shoulder and bother you. So has any of this brought anything up that you're thinking about, Kurt, Emily, as we're talking about this?
Not sure. The moment I was trying to think. Do you have any thoughts at the moment?
That's her code word for it. She didn't think of anything. So,
That's all good.
but well, I mean, I guess the key word here is forgive, and let's break apart that word. Forgive. Think about that word being formulated before it was a word, and they come up with forgive. So to me, forgiveness again is about, you have the situation you're reacting to. So to practice forgiveness is to think about, think of the whole realm of giving.
Yeah.
When you go out in life and you have any chance to give and to, be that provider for another person, there's just something that we just know comes from that. It's like CARES Foundation as a nonprofit, and volunteering and the whole realm of volunteering, the, how that can fuel you, and how that can be a great source for your soul in terms of what your day and memories and everything can be. So I think that all exists in the realm of forgiveness. Is it's another opportunity in our life to give, and it is that vulnerable position of the other person. Maybe we call that person the offender or whatever it may
Mhm.
be. And and I'm very open, in one of the milestones in my life where I experienced forgiveness in a courtroom. There's you talk about the person in your story, Todd, being close to you. I'm dealing with that, with my offense from 20 years ago, that the person lives like about 5 doors down from me. Just 5 doors down, this person. And, she was in that court. You talk about, like what somebody did as a penalty for what they did. My story is going, it's like a 6 mile run from a place where I went, for dinner with a couple of my friends. And, my drink of choice was gin and tonic. And then it was a 6 mile run, back home to sleep. And I didn't even make it to 6 miles, a point oh 0.08 blood alcohol, content, DAC 0.08. And, so just experiencing that, and then, knowing halfway home, a few miles into it, I'm already crossing the center line. And then by the time the response is there, I'm completely unaware of why in the heck am I in this position?
Yeah.
So to me, it was a combination of just overdoing it, and then just having, you might call it a little bit of indulgence or whatever, but obviously people in this situation, the statistics are, people get the blood alcohol level, higher than what I had, but it proves that 0.08 is a high level of concern. So people kind of, underestimate it, but I experienced it. And the lady that I hit, right in my subdivision here, she had to deal with surgery. And I don't know if we want to call it irony or whatever you want to call it, but here her career is a surgical technician.
Oh, wow.
So here I hit a surgical technician. She put in her shift at the hospital and just trying to get home here, 5 doors down for me. And didn't make it home because I crossed the center line and smack. All of a sudden we have, a collision, and, we're dealing with it in the hospital. And she journalized, like from the moment of impact to being in the courtroom. That judge knew, she's in the medical field. So she
Yeah.
was able to bring it out very graphically, what that impact, did to her. And then having gone through all that, the prosecutor, the assistant district attorney, they consulted with her, like, what do you, what makes you whole? Because that's their goal,
Right.
making the victim whole. And discussing throwing me in jail, she didn't feel comfortable with that. throwing me, having me spend any jail time. So everything went, community service and stuff like that. And I just look at, what if the person I hit, did not have that forgiveness?
Yeah.
I've never experienced what it is to be in jail. The closest I got was visiting a friend who was serving jail time. That's the closest I got to that situation. So forgiveness saved me from that experience. And to your story, that it was very minimal. Now, my story was that I did not kill anybody, but how would I have known? 6 mile stretch happened to have an impact there. It could have been different, and it could have been a death.
Yeah.
You just never know. So that's where I'm very happy, satisfied, and find it's rewarding. Just like you're on the other side of it, which is what you're going through. Being the offender, you don't. And then to your point about forgiveness, again, if I would have hit somebody that was with zero capacity of forgiveness, what the last 20 years and the rest of my life would be to me.
Yeah, true.
Because, this local contact is someone who, practiced forgiveness. It freed me up to do other things. And Todd, as you got to know me, like helping here, it opened up these things in my life where this is where I'm at. So the realm of forgiveness, it really hits home for me. It really hits my heart. It really has become everything that I'm about.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that because it is a, personal story. And, when I thought about what I want to do this morning, I honestly wasn't even thinking about, because I know your story. I mean, a little bit of your story you told me. And so I wasn't even thinking about that at all. If I would have, I may have changed the subject. I don't know what I would have done, or asked you at least, but all of this, and I guess I've had people ask me, well, if you could change things, would you have it? I'm like, well, of course, I would love to have my mother and my sister still here, but they're not. So it's like, I'm trying to make the best of something that was negative in the start of my life. And we've taken it a little bit further since I've forgiven him and I've started CARES Foundation. We want to do a camp. It's called Camp CARES. We're hopefully doing the first one here in June. We're still trying to raise some more funding, but this camp is for kids that have been affected by drugs and alcohol, or kids that are just lost because of maybe the situation they're in. So this camp, I want to have them come up to Globe, Arizona, at the Elks camp up there. And we're going to just have a good time. Our theme this year is Survivor, like the TV show. So we're going to have some fun competitions and do some like paracord bracelet. I am looking for a sponsor to sponsor some backpacks that we want to give the kids. And we're just going to have a good time, and we'll give them some tools in the morning and the afternoon. Just, maybe we talk about forgiveness. Maybe we talk about certain things that could help these kids along. And then we want to, after the camp is all done, we want to bring them back to the Valley. And we're talking about starting up a program. It's called, right now we have it called Kids Life Program. And it's kids don't get a lot of, especially if they don't have a dad around or a mother that can't teach them certain things. We're going to start off maybe, like for how to read a tape measure, how to cook and use a measuring cups, what those are, a quarter and all that stuff. And then go to the fact of how to check oil in your car, just things like that kids don't get taught if they don't have someone that's going to be able to or be willing to teach them. And then go even to further to where maybe at the end point of it, we're talking about, because my background is financial planning and insurance, is we talk about what a Roth IRA and how to invest and insurances. And we talk about just more in-depth things for these kids as they grow older. And that this program they go through with us, and it starts off at the camp that goes a full year long. And one prerequisite is they keep their grades up, that there's a possible trip at the end of the year. And we're thinking Disneyland for one of the first trips to go on. So this is something that's being developed as we speak more. The camp is there, but just the other developing afterwards. And man, I've got nothing but positive feedback. And a friend of mine, he has a nonprofit, and his name is Anthony Schultz, him and his wife, Monica. And, it's going to be a great combination. And they grew up in the projects here in Phoenix. And he said, when I'm growing up, he said, if you would have told me there was a school outside of my area within a mile radius, he said, I would have said, no way. He said, I thought my life was within a mile radius of where I lived, that I was going to be working at Whataburger. And that's what he said, that's what he thought life was going to be. And he wants to be able to, or we together want to be able to help these kids understand that if you can dream it, you can achieve it. It just takes hard work to get there. And it may be a little more hard work depending on where you live. And so we just want to give these kids opportunities to see that there's something else out there. And if they dream it, they can achieve it. So, that's an exciting thing happening. And I just, I know my goal, Kurt, of having Camp Cares in every state in the United States. And when Anthony and I were talking about this program, we're like, man, this could be like add right on to Camp Cares, and we could make this in cities all over the United States. And so that's where we're dreaming right now. So we're going to we're going to put the dream to work. So we're excited about all of that. Any thoughts, Emily?
Oh, that's awesome. That you guys are going to be adding that on. I think that's important for kids to know, instead of having to learn it later in life or from some other way, and to build up the skills and knowledge as early as possible. And
it's going to be. It's going to be fun, exciting. I actually sat down yesterday. I did an outline, and it was like, man, I got too much stuff to put in the outline. So I threw it to Anthony, and I said, look over this and revise whatever you want to revise. Let's do it, work on it. And it's been funny how these last week, I had one event I had to go to, and I did it. And I met a gentleman that is in charge of they have 6,000 students, I believe. It's for individuals that didn't get their high school diploma, or they couldn't get through the regular school work, and so they can do it on their own type thing. And here in Arizona, and it was really awesome talking with the founder of that, and hopefully there's some workability together at that point, some point anyway. So it's exciting about where Cares Foundation is headed. Camp Cares. Anybody watching, we still need funding. If you could help us out with funding in any way, we would appreciate that. We are a 501c3, so your funding is tax deductible, your donations. And we do have a campaign right now. It's called 200+1. So we are asking 200 people to donate $25 a month, and for them to get one of their friends to do that also. So at the end of the day, that would be 400 people donating $25 a month. That would generate $120,000 a year, which would allow us to put on multiple camps. So that's the campaign we've got going. If you have any feedback for me, seeing this, message me. I'll throw my number out there now. Anybody can call me. I don't care who you are. Call me. My number is an Oregon number. It's 541-490-5171. Again, that's 541-490-5171. And our website that you can go on to and donate, and you get a receipt right there for you, is K, then an S, then a hyphen, then cares.org. So it's KS-KARES.org. And remember, CARES is always spelled with a K here at Cares Foundation because of my mother's name, K-A-R-E for Karen and S for Shelley. So again, the one last time, website is KS-KARES.org. Go on, help us out, help these kids. So that's all I have for today. Kurt, Emily, any closing words?
Sorry, Carrie, do you have anything before I do my ending?
Yeah, I just can connect to I keep thinking coming into January here about how people around the world are talking, thrive in 25. And so I'm going to put it in that context that's where I celebrate CARES Foundation and these camps. And, all of the work that Todd is helping us do here is, just the opportunity again to give and to volunteer and to be a part of something, to plug in a little movement here, a movement to really disrupt this space of our behavior where people still today go out into town and go ahead and establishment, or maybe coming from home having imbibed in some alcoholic beverages, or maybe it's on the drug side of things, and going out there and just turning a transportation vehicle, a car, an automobile into a weapon. And it can get to be fatal, deadly, and it can, maim, hurt. Emily and I do a lot of work here at the World Ability Podcast Network in the realm of people with disabilities, and I'd served as vice chair of the Wisconsin Council on Physical Disabilities. And, a big part of the commission there is to advocate these things because, if we can prevent physical disabilities, that's a great thing to give, that prevention. So really celebrating the mission of CARES Foundation and really personally feeling heartfelt in how we can bring out the legacy of Karen and Shelley. So come join us. Come join the CARES family.
Absolutely.
Emily, over to you. OMG, EMG.
Thanks. That's been a great show. I'd love to have anybody come on as a guest. So if you'd like to reach out to me, you can call or text me at 608-886-9801. And again, we are here every Wednesday morning, 10:30. And we'd love everybody to check out our social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and so on. Like, share, comment, subscribe, as well as check out other people we're working with, like Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Jason Ryan of the Disability Channel, Zach Clan of the Pack Channel, Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios, and Earl Williams of the Midwest Fans Podcast. One of the great work that they do. But until next week, hope everybody has a great rest of your day and week, and to stay happy.